I hate being late. I hate being late. And I'm 4 minutes late. I've been sitting over here in another chair talking with my staff and my baby, my Christina. She called just as I was fixing to come over here. And you never, 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 never delay your wife. I'm 76 years old. You don't say no to your wife. But she was on the way to an appointment for the ministry, taking care of some things. I cannot wait to talk to you today about humility and my moments of arrogance when I made mistakes. All of us desire respect. All of us desire respect. I had somebody to resign and give a 2 weeks notice, and I told my manager, just call them, tell them, just don't come back to the office. They've been too disrespectful to me anyway. I'm glad they resigned, thrilled they resigned, because I didn't know how to release them and let them go. So I was thrilled. Some resignations excite you. Try to think if I ever had anybody to leave that I wasn't glad. Hold on, let me think for that a moment. Have I ever had anybody resign that I wish they wouldn't? Yeah, there's one lady. Her husband became a policeman up in Wisconsin. She was with me several years. I mean, she wasn't God Jr., but she was a good person. Almost every person who resigned, when it was over with, I was glad they resigned. Sometimes I didn't find out till later why I was glad, but usually the wrong people, eventually the wrong people can't stay. They can't stay in the presence of goodness, and they can't stay in the presence of integrity if they're wrong, etc. My brother's birthday's today. I want you to stay with me for a few moments because I want to talk to you about apologies, reactions, and restoration. I want to talk to you about this, the financial rewards of humility. The times when I wasn't and the times I was. I want you to have there's times I've had a touch of arrogance. Sometimes I've had a river of arrogance because I was upset and I fought back. But I want to talk to you about that. Holding in my hand the Wisdom Notes of Mike Murdock, which is out of this absolutely out of this world. I'll read you some of the titles shortly, but I want you to let me get my breath. I'm better today. I'm better today than I was last few days. I'm better today, but I still have my anxiety. Stay with me, though, because I think I'm going to be getting well. Let me say here, Prophet Joshua, I just talked about you a few seconds ago and how you've been consistently gracious to me. You have never talked with me with disrespect. Son, your seed sowing talks. Nothing on earth talks louder than money. Nothing. And when you give offerings to someone you love and preachers, people, I just received a seed this morning from a preacher I met 50 years ago. And a note from him just telling me how much he cared and loved me, and I value that. Paul Wright, Mark Mays, yay Mark. Mark, you smart. Very, very smart. Baruch said, you're never late, nor just precisely when the student's ready to hear you. I love that. Dr. Sean Mandel Henry, Ohio. Carolyn Carson. Carolyn has played the harp for the Wisdom Center for years and years and years. I never asked for one penny. Carolyn's with me today. Jerry Jones, Ohio. Clovia. Jordan Baker said, thanks for the encouraging email. You want to write a note about my email? Because I'm wanting to change my layouts. I really want to change my designs a lot. William John. Valerie. Love you, Valerie. Hug that good-looking man of yours. Bill and Valerie Alexson. Are you ready, folks? Let me just go ahead and plunge in. Humility is a mystifying word to me. I get humility mixed up with attitude and personality. Attitude and personality. A company that does a lot of printing of my books did something a few days ago that no one's ever done in 56 years of ministry. Never. They brought over a big spread of food for all my staff. They drove, I don't know, but they asked us our favorite restaurant, and they came and set up a huge spread of food. The company did, from Fort Worth. The other person that's made that happen has been Dr. Diana Brown from Boaz, Alabama. And several times, she has paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have a meal brought and set in for us. She was in Alabama. When you want something you've never had, you got to do something you've never done. When you want to be remembered, you've got to do something memorable. That's Wisdom Keys by Mike Murdock, you know. I want to stay with me here a few minutes. 3 young ladies that work in our ministry were standing here together today, and I found myself talking to them about a lot of things to tell them ahead of time. Only fools resist authority. Only fools resist authority. Only the arrogant talk back to greatness. I want to tell you 1 and 2. Number 1, I'm 26. I preached for 7-8 days before going into my 2nd week for a great church in Dallas. They run 1,000 a night. And I've shared this illustration, but it's important. What is humility? Recognition of limitations. Recognizing who you're not. Recognizing the greatness of others. There's a lot of stupid statements on the earth. One of them is God's in control of everything. As we read about rapes and murders, and we say God's in control of everything. Only an idiot would think that God's in control of everything. Whole Bible's about prayer, decisions. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Anyway, let me go back. I want to talk to you for a few minutes here about your humility and the lack of it, and how arrogance is so costly. One of the most idiotic statements in the world is that everybody's equal. We're not even equal when we're born. There's ugly babies, I guess, pretty babies. stupid people, smart people, great athletes, fatsos. I've been there. I'm sitting there because I've got to lose weight. I got to lose it. There's nobody equal. If everybody's equal, who's going to teach? If everybody's equal, there's nothing to pursue, nothing to learn. You think I'm equal to Michael Jordan in basketball? You think I'm equal to Tiger Woods when I'm golfing? You think I'm equal to Muhammad Ali in boxing? None of us are equal. And there's nothing wrong with that. There'll be a place, there'll be an environment where you will be the feature. There will be an environment where your presence changes everything. Humility requires wisdom. You have to be smart enough to know when you ain't good enough. Rejection is proof somebody didn't want you. Get over it. No, so and so. I remember a girl who turned me down. I felt a little bad. But when I finally saw the guy she liked, I was, Lord, she was more stupid than I thought. If that's what she wanted, I didn't feel so bad when I saw the guy she wanted. Okay. And it was laughable. But I want to talk to you about the financial rewards of humility. Yesterday or the other day, I spoke on the questions you should be asking your leader. Let's get something straight. So I got the check on Monday for preaching to 1,000 people for 7 nights in a row or 8. Great church. Jimmy Swaggart preached there a month every year. The guy gives me $300. I cried for 2 hours. Cried. How was I going to pay all my insurance? How was I going to pay my bills? Dallas, Texas, Oak Cliff. One of the most famous pastors in the world. One of the top 10 pastors for the Assemblies of God. And so I looked at the Bible and someone said, when you have aught in your heart against your brother, go to your brother. Okay? So I went to him. And I said, brother, is $300 all that came in the offerings this week? 1,000 people a night? And he smiled, a big fake smile. Brother Mike, how much was you wanting? I said, well, I don't have an amount. I just ask you a question. Now let me explain something. I'm a ferocious question asker. I'm ferocious. I did it in school. I did it with Jim Swaggart or Roberts. I am ferocious in asking questions. And when somebody avoids my question, half my brain leaves and I go crazy. Don't know why. I interpret the avoidance of my question as deception. It's just my style. It's just my style. Brother Mike, how much was you wanting it to be? I said, well, brother, I'm asking, is that really all the offerings that came in, $300? After I preached every night for 8 nights, Sunday through Sunday? How much did you want it to be $1,000? What did you want it to be? And he smiled. He was a genius. He was probably 3 times my age. He's the one that had the big church. I'm the one with the 1953 Chevrolet. He's the one with the big church. Wisdom key. Somebody who has what you don't have knows something you don't know. Duh. Do you really have to be Albert Einstein to know that? Not really. He's the one that had the big church. I was living in a house my father bought for $150. My car was $300. 1953 Chevrolet. He's the one who had invited me. And I'm griping over the $300. Brother Mike, was you a fool? Absolute fool. And he kept talking. So, would you like $800 more? How much would you like? I said, brother, all I'm just wanting to know is I'm in a state of shock that all my preaching for 8 nights, only $300 came in. That's like less than $40 a night. Less than $40 a night from 1,000 people gave me less than $40 a night for my ministry. I must be a nut. What happened here? That night he brought me back. I think he brought me 800 or so. I don't remember right now. I thanked him. But he badmouthed me, and for 4 years, big churches were canceled because he had great endorsement power, and he had everybody respected him. He had been my hero because that's where I went to church when I was 18, going to Southwestern Bible School. That's where I met Jimmy Swaggart when I was 18 at his church. Now, I'm 26 at the time, I think. Watch this. He brought me more, but he wouldn't answer my question. Did he have to? Well, no. I was a guest. But I forgot who I was, and I forgot who I wasn't. And I preached for a month one time on the subject, do you know who you're talking to? Some of my biggest mistakes in my life is if I forgot who I was talking to. Friendliness don't make you equal. Someone being kind and warm and cordial to you doesn't make you equal. I can get down and talk to a child. We're not equal. I called Jimmy Swaggart, Baton Rouge. I said, Jimmy, he only paid me $300 for first week. And you go there every year for a month. What did he pay? He said, well, that's all he ever paid me. He laughed and lied. Michael, that's all he ever paid me. I said, how do you survive? He said, I just sell a lot of record albums, that's all. But I said, did you talk to him? Well, no. I'm his guest. Well, I didn't think like that. I just think, is this fair? Because he had told the people every night, we really want to bless Brother Mike this week. We're receiving offering. I interpreted that as he was going to give me the offering that he just received. Now, as I thought on it years and years later, I realized he didn't say every penny that you give will go to Brother Mike. He gave the impression. He gave the appearance. Deceptive? Very. Was he deceptive? Very. But it's his right to say that. I thought they was going to give me all the offerings. I really did. I really did. Somebody needs to tell Gabriella about this title. Can you do that? Tell her this is the title, The Financial Rewards of Humility. Okay. David Nunn was a famous evangelist all over the world, missionary evangelist, David Nunn. Went to school with his son. He calls me. Brother Mike, why are you saying? He says, my pastor is telling everybody you have a money problem. I said, he only gave me $300 for a week. 1,000 people a night. That's not right. I have a strong sensitivity about right and wrong. It's abnormal. It's abnormal. I said he only gave me $300. He said, I don't believe that. David Nunn told me that. My pastor would never give somebody only $300. I said, you want to see the check? You want to see the check? Because I take a picture of every check ever given to me. You want to see the check? I don't believe that. I just can't. And of course, he quieted down. Here's the point. I forgot who I was. I was a rinky-dink 26-year-old boy who didn't have enough sense and to talk back to an authority. Stay with me. Stay with me here. About the last 3 years, I've been going through a rehashing of all my mistakes. I don't know why. Probably part of it's my passion to do things right. I really want to be right so bad. Right with God, but also right with people. Now eventually, about 4 years later, he came back and wanted me to come back again. So he had more. And I started to say no, but I didn't. I didn't. I ended up preaching for him, I think it was 56 times. 56 services. But I was a fool. Humility is admitting when you're wrong. Humility is admitting when you're less. Humility is when you recognize you ain't as a big shot as you think you are. You're not everything you think you are. There's an old saying in Louisiana, quote, he thinks he's a bag of chips and a lot more. And that's their way of saying when somebody's not humble. Humility isn't soft speaking. Some of the proudest people in the world talk softly. And I could tell you who they are. There's big preachers who talk soft, but they ain't a humble bone in them. It's an appearance. It's a presentation of humility. Praise God, yes. Thank you so much. Oh, you're such a blessing. By the way, just one of the things that sickness will do for you is it'll strip you of your arrogance for sure when you realize you're one medical problem away from being nobody. You're going to leave like that one day. We won't be here. We're not near as significant as we think. Our significance has an expiration date. Significance expires. That's quite a statement, isn't it? Your value expires like that. I don't know about you, but I don't like those feelings. I hate feeling like a nothing. I really react to insults and disrespect. I really react to disrespect. I still can't forget over some time ago when somebody wouldn't return my phone call. somebody on my staff, somebody important. And I sent a note, Viber, please call me. When available, please call me. Something was so strong on my mind. And the person wrote me back and said, I'm fixing to go get a haircut. 15 minutes later, I'm with another lady. We're taking care of some stuff. Then a third time came back. I'm in a room with a lot of people. And the person on my staff wouldn't call me back when I asked him, please call me. Please call me. It was almost an hour. I still hadn't forgotten that. I can't seem to get over it. I'm the one giving you all your money. I'm the one that writes you all your paychecks. Why are you ignoring me like this? Very humiliating. I still hadn't recovered from it. I hadn't recovered from it. But stay here with me. The Bible talks a lot about humility, and I don't have a great definition for humility. It's recognizing your limitations, recognizing who you're not, recognizing who others are, recognizing greatness around you, recognizing your mistakes. But I want to give you a couple of illustrations. Somebody that I was helping, I've spent over $30,000 keeping them out of jail, prison. I was real hurt one day, and I started explaining. I spent hours talking to him, and I spent time. I said, son, I asked you such and such. We really needed help at the Wisdom Center. And so I had my assistant to call him and say, would you come help us at the Wisdom Center? And he says, I can't. I've got my white shoes on and they'll get dirty if I come help y'all at the Wisdom Center. I'd spent $30,000 or so on his life. I'd got him out of jail, cost me thousands, but he doesn't want to come help me at the Wisdom Center, move some furniture, because he has white shoes on. So I faced him with it. And he talked back to me. He raised his voice and talked it back to me. To this day, I can't hardly shake that out of my head. All we ask you to do, would you help us move a sofa at the Wisdom Center? No, I've got white shoes on. Okay. Folks, arrogance is deadly. Arrogance is not a moment, it's not an event. Arrogance strips you of favor. It strips you of endorsement. Pride is a devastating weakness. Pride's a devastating weakness. Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who you're talking to? Stay with me. I want you to see that humility is linked to money. There's 5 people I could tell you right now that I've given a lot of money to that I don't want to give another penny the rest of my life. If I lived at 99 like my father, I don't want another penny to leave my pocket to go into their pocket. There's 5 people right now that's about destroyed something in me. They've killed the giver toward them. There's an arrogance is an odor, but arrogance is never forgotten. Never forgotten. Stay with me. Let me stop for a moment and see who's here. Apostle Sonia. Oh, what a worthy subject. All that in a bag of chips. Jacques, I want you to come to work with me, son. Your respect has been noted. Your consistency has impacted me. And your respect, I've got relatives that never listen to me when I teach. And here you are, you listen every day. Don't think I hadn't noticed that, Jacques. Jacques, I'll pay you more than your present boss. I hope. I'm glad that Sonia got through to you. Just think about it. See if it's workable. Jackie Pate, Tamara White, Canada, Dr. May, Apostle Anna, Marion, Jennifer, Lee Hudson, Gilbert from San Antonio, Tracy Singer. Now, do you know who you're not? Do you know who others are? Do you talk to others with respect? They may not need you, but someday they may. You may not need them, but someday you may. And that's not even why you treat others with respect, because of the Jesus in you. The Jesus in you. Some time ago, someone resigned from our ministry, and I was so happy. So happy. Because of their attitude. See, attitude's contagious. Now let me give you an illustration. I fly hours and hours and hours, over 8,000 miles to preach for a man. I started Friday night. Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, I get a phone call in my hotel. He said, Dr. Murdoch, you preached too long last night. You preached an hour and a half, and my people didn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning from their buses. You're going to ruin this whole weekend. And he bawled me out. I mean, he bawled me out. I just flown over 8,000 miles to preach for him. I'd been in the ministry over 20 years longer than him. Over 20 years longer than he has. And he's bawling me out. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and I'm sitting there listening. And I'm humiliated. This was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And I'm humiliated. The facts, he had dancers for 30 minutes. He had a choir for an hour. He took up so much time with his singers before he turned it to me. He said, don't preach over 40 minutes. Please don't preach over. I don't think he said please. But he says, I don't want you to preach over 40 minutes. 40 minutes is plenty of time. 34 minutes. And I said, yes, sir. I'm 20 years older than him. I've been in the ministry 20 or 30 years longer than him. I didn't need his cotton picking. Why did I fly so far? Why did I do that? Was I embarrassed? From my head to my feet. Did he make me feel like a nobody? From my head to my feet. Did he make me feel unnecessary? From my head to my feet. And I sat there alone on the edge of the bed. But some of the rewards of aging are brains. You develop brains if you try. And I sat there. He was the pastor. I was the evangelist. He was head of everything. I was just a guest for 3 days. That's all. You ever heard the saying, eat humble pie, just eat it. Just eat the humble pie. And I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's half my age, half experienced I am. But he loved who he was, very proud of who he was. I follow him on Twitter. He's very, he's got a lot of arrogance to him. But he was in charge. He was in charge. He was in charge. And Sunday night, he met with me. And he had a stack of money, $40,000 cash, and said, we want to give you $40,000 offering for these 3 days. I said, brother, that's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. He said, I'm going to be wiring you in 3 days, 100,000. Now that was the tithe on the offerings I had raised for his church. 1.4. The first night I had raised an offering for his church of 1.4 million. But he sent me the 100,000. What a blessing. What a blessing. I needed it. I was so thankful. The point is, had I talked back to him, had I been arrogant, had I been a know-it-all, I doubt he would have had any desire to bless me. Another preacher gave me $50,000, speak in 2 or 3 days. Next time I went back to him, I got mad at something he did. He sat in the pulpit, he yelled at me while I was in the pulpit. He yelled at me. And I was embarrassed in front of all of his people. So I wouldn't go back to preach for him the next day. He asked me to dedicate his university. I was mad. I wouldn't go back and dedicate his university. So instead of giving me $50,000, he slashed it down to $15,000. And I realized he was retaliating, paying me back for not preaching the next day. I was upset. Why am I telling you these things? Now my friendship with all these people have somewhat been restored. But the point is this, is humility affects your money. I know the people I'll never give another nickel to the rest of my days unless God spoke to me because of their arrogance, their insults, their disrespect to me. You close doors through arrogance. Pride closes doors. Pride stops endorsements. Pride stops the flow of money because it stops the flow of favor. Anything that affects favor stops your money. Favor is not accidental. Favor is a reaction to goodness. Favor is a reaction to problem solvers. Favor is a reaction to kindness. The financial rewards of humility. One of the best teachings I ever did was a few hours ago called Questions You Should Ask Your Leader. What did I do wrong? Or when you get a job, tell your boss, the new boss, please don't let me stay in a mistake. Please. That's a doable. That's doable. Can you show that on the screen? That's fabulous. Now notice when I asked Gabriella if she could do this, you ought to see You ought to see the project she's behind on right now. She's got so many printing projects going on. She's got a letter. We're printing 8,000 copies of a 11 by 17 letter from me. She could have easily, just a few minutes ago, we got, boy, that looks so good, don't it? Or are you going to put that in behind me, the whole thing? Your little sweetheart. We're going to change the background right now. Money depends on who likes you. Money depends on who you help. Your money depends on the favor that you generate. The favor that you generate. The financial rewards of humility. And she just made my Kalana Michelle. Aloha. Must be Honolulu. Pastor Vanessa McIntyre. Stacy from Jamaica. You know, Stacy, write that down. Stacy, ANAN23. Ron Thornton. I love that. You are a conduit for God to move through. Kavina. Tracy Singer said, your prayer team member called me this morning. And we prayed for God to open the door for my teaching position. They called and gave me an offer to start 10 minutes after I hung up the phone. Did you see that? Oh, I love that, Tracy. I love that. 10 minutes after my prayer pastors prayed with you about your teaching position, you get a phone call 10 minutes after the call. And got an offer. I love that. Noah, Zimbabwe. Humility is recognizing your limitations. It's also recognizing the greatness in others around you. You must see their greatness. You must see their goodness. You must. Family, there's when you made a mistake, say, I am so sorry. I'm crazy. By the way, next time I went back to that preacher that I refused to dedicate his university, I refused to go back and preach for him the next day. By the way, after that pastor embarrassed me so much, that night at 11 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 7 hours or so, Miles Monroe and I were traveling together, preaching together. And Miles came to my room and talked to 6 o'clock in the morning. And he trying to calm me down. That is out of this world. That's the new book cover that Gabriella just created. Is that not something? Look at that. Look at that. Lord. She did that in, 15 minutes or so. Look at that. Oh, I love the dollar mark on the word rewards. The financial rewards of humility. You excited me. You sweetheart. Thank you. This blesses me incredibly. I may end up getting well. Amen. When you make a mistake with your boss, your wife, there's various ways. Say, baby, I don't know why I said that. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Don't say, I know you'll forgive me. You got to forgive me to go to heaven. Don't say that. Do you know that words, did you know that words decide opinions? Did you know that a single sentence can stop a restoration of relationship? Do you have any idea the high cost of arrogance? Boy, there's a title for you. You have any idea the high cost of arrogance? Silence is often retaliation. But payday comes to every retaliator. It never crossed my mind that when I approached that pastor about my low paycheck, that he would talk to all the other big preachers and they would close doors to me for 4 years. Never crossed my mind. Well, Brother Mike, he should have been that. No, I was wrong. I was wrong. An extra conversation is often the seed for restoration. It's the missing conversation that devastates your financial world. A preacher in Phoenix, Arizona, writes me a letter. And inside the letter, he's got one of his protocol sheets. I would not be allowed to receive any offerings while I was there in revival. I'd been there before. I didn't receive any offerings for our ministry. I always receive offerings for the local pastor in his church. It's been years and years since I ever received an offering for myself in anybody's church, ever. I bless the church. Sometimes I get no offering at all. I don't charge for preaching. So when I saw his letter, I said to my secretary, call and cancel my meeting. They said I would not be allowed to receive any offerings. And that's one of the things the Lord uses me in. Cancel the meeting. And she looked at me in a kind of a smart way and she said, don't you want to talk to him first about it? I said, there's nothing to talk about. He has sent me a letter and his protocol sheets. This is what he wants at his church. He can have it. I don't want to go. I don't even want to fly all the way to Phoenix anyway. That was my attitude. Wrong attitude will keep you broke for a lifetime. Wrong attitude stops pursuit of your gifts inside you. Wrong attitude. There's people right now that I could bless. They could solve problems for me, but their attitude stinks. Their attitude absolutely smells like a skunk, and I don't want that around me. I'm 76. I can't have bad people around me. I can't have somebody talk to me like I'm a dog. I can't endure that anymore. I can't have that anymore. Affects me. And she said, I think the least you could do is, then she quoted some of my wisdom keys back to me, which people often do. And she was right. I was wrong. Brother Mike, do you always admit when you're wrong? Not if I can help it. I try to stop it. I don't want to ever let people hear me, and yet I got to. I got to do it right. To please God. Boy, I woke up this morning with a throbbing sentence. Your will shall be done in my life. Your will shall be done in my life. Your will shall be done in my life. Whatever you say, I will obey. Your will shall be done in my life. Your will shall be done in my life. Your will shall be done in my life. Whatever you say, Lord, I will obey. Your will shall be done in my life. So I called the man, the pastor in Phoenix. I said, brother, oh my, good to hear your voice. We're so excited about you coming. All the people are just so excited. I said, well, I wanted to call you and tell you that I want to talk to you about your protocol sheet. that I would not be allowed to receive any offerings. Oh, Mike, that's their standard protocol. You're family. Mike, you can do anything you want to here. It don't matter. You're home. Boy, we're so anxious to see. And he just kept right on going. And I sat there feeling like an idiot because I was an idiot. I wanted to make a decision without clarification. A decision without conversation is usually a wrong decision. A decision without conversation is usually a wrong decision. I went there, we had a great meeting. He was a great man, he blessed me, I blessed him. Thanks to my secretary, who said, don't you think you should call him and get more understanding of this? No, he said, he just sent to me. I don't have to call him. I don't have to talk to him. My life is full of days like that. Brother Mike, what made you pursue wisdom? Not having any. If you knew the high cost of ignorance, you would dread your moments of ignorance. Ignorance becomes stupidity. Stupidity destroys favor. The financial rewards of humility are immense. Your willingness to ask a boss, what am I doing that I need to change? What am I doing that needs to be corrected? Please tell me about any mistakes I'm making. I want to become the best I can be. Tell me what I did wrong. Please, I want to know what I did wrong. The financial rewards of humility. Everybody who has a little money has a lot of problems. Everybody who has a little money has a lot of problems. If you have goals, you need people. When you hire people, you hire problems. Everybody I know who's got a little money has some stress, has some struggles. They need somebody there to help them, someone to help them. And they'll reward you if you have enough humility. Humility reaches. Arrogance assumes. Humility pursues correction. Arrogance fights back. If you saw the fight back of different people, you'd be shocked. Humility doesn't resist and fight back. Humility submits to authority. And let's just be very plain. Your boss must have more money than you do because he's the one writing you checks. Your boss must know something you don't know because he's the one that owns the business. He's the one that owns the business. I've met very few young preachers who were humble. Almost no young preachers humble. An old lady brags on him after church, said, that's the best preacher I ever heard. And the little boy never forgets it. Walks around with his head up in the air, thinking he's better than everybody else. There's no arrogance like a young preacher who's been unmentored. Unmentored. Powerful in it. Did you know a woman can talk to her husband in a way that turns him off and he never wants to bless her again? Did you know that? Did you know that you can talk to your boss in a way that he hopes he can replace you? Did you know Did you know that you can show an attitude to a leader and the first thing he thinks of is, I'm going to have to replace that. I'm going to have to replace her. I hate that. I hate that. You think I don't know the arrogant on my staff? The arrogant can't hide. The arrogant never hide. The arrogant are the unthankful. The arrogant don't realize you've given them a place to work. I tell my staff, the day you get unhappy and don't enjoy being around me, please please tell me. I'll give you a 2-week severance pay and you can go look for any job you want to. Jim Lynchy said, I'm learning, quote, I'm learning so much from the books I get in the mail from you, Dr. Mike. Stephanie, watching from Anointed Little Elm, Texas. Stephanie, I didn't know that's where you lived. I hadn't even heard from that. Stephanie from Anointed Little Elm, Texas. My Lord, I'll have to look up about that. Who ever heard of a town called Anointed? I love that, Stephanie. Liya, Liya. I've heard your name so many times from other preachers, using you as a reference in their insights. I had to check you out. Wow. Greetings from China. You got to be kidding. Really? Liya. Your last name is what? Chacha? Isn't that a fabulous name? C-H-A. From China is watching with me today. Anthony Kitchens. Quote, Dr. Murdock, this is from Anthony. Quote, Dr. Murdock, I've learned more from you in an hour than I have in 10 years of my life. Write that down, Anthony Kitchens. That takes a lot of kindness. That's a good attitude that would write something like that. People don't admit that. Write down Anthony's name. Anthony, I hope I have your shipping address. I'd like to bless you. Mabel, Rita, Teresa Heck, Columbia. Susan Lord says your sense of humor makes me chuckle. Susan, thank you about Einstein. Thank you for that reference. Maria Hughes. Pastor Joseph O'Benge, Accra, Ghana. Pastor Joseph, I really wanted his shipping address. I want to honor him in a way. Shane Williams feels like I do. Quote, I don't like deception in any form or fashion. Pastor Ken Loring said, what you're speaking on today will either build relationships or burn them. A topic of urgency and importance. Femi, Canada. My brother turned 80 today, my oldest brother. He's the only member of my family, the only one that calls every day. He's 80. He made money before I could spell it. Very successful, going through a lot of trials. But this morning I started writing him, and I started telling him what his contribution to our family was. And when I got him on the phone, I said, brother, you showed honor to mother and father, our mother and daddy, when us kids didn't know how. You showed honor to people. You were always gentle. Never heard him yell at a person in my life. He's got children and grandchildren. And he calls me. And he tells me every single day of my life, he says, you're the best thing in my life. You're the best thing in my life. He said, your prayers have kept me alive every day. Humility is very attractive. I've got several people on my staff who have a real humility. A real humility. Pastor David Martinez. He has a humility like few men on the earth. I don't want a life without Pastor David Martinez. He has never been contentious with me. One time I said something that got him hurt, and he came to me and he was hurt. Only time. He's been with me for years. But he was really right and I was wrong. His wife is Mariana. She plays the piano and she sings. She's from Brazil, but he's one of the kindest men. He's the one I love representing me to other people. And when I have him to host people, my mother-in-law came here, spent 40 days with us a few days back. My mother-in-law from Brasilia, Brazil. And she adores him. And he took her to places to eat, took her to different things, and she was so elated. And she and her son-in-law and Christina's sister and some of her kinfolks were all with him for 40 days here. And they all talked how much they adored David Martinez. There's a humility in him that I put great value in. I put great value on that. I really appreciate people who have a humility. I put great value on it. There's others, but if I call out their name, they may want a raise, and so I better not talk. I'm joking, Miss Sonia. I'm joking. Miss Sonia from India left her mother and father 10 years ago, just to come help me build the ministry. Sonia is loved by everybody, but that their humility, where you're willing to yield to others, listen to others. Humility doesn't have a need to rule everybody, control everybody, force everybody to do things. Pretty powerful, isn't it? Zachary, Mickey, Tina, Valerie. Valerie, isn't that a key? Significance expires. Significance has an expiration date. Cindy Young, Dr. Brown, talked about you a while ago in the meals you blessed the staff with. Victor Abel, always know who you're talking to. Jacques just wrote me and said, I will work with my white shoes until they're worn out and falling apart at your wisdom center, Dr. Murdoch. Fidel. Pamela Pettit's here from Virginia. Leanne Smiles. Cindy Jones. Quote, your sensitivity to right and wrong is one of the finest weapons that God's loaded you up with. You have supplied us all with an arsenal against Satan. That right-wrong sensitivity is a nuclear missile. And Eldoret, Kenya. Anna. And you got to be kidding. I've driven through Eldoret, Kenya. I've spent a year in Nairobi, Kakamega, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Wangari. I cannot believe you're watching me from Eldoret. My word. W-A-N-G-A-R-E. Y'all have no idea. I remember Eldoret like it was my town. I'm not believing this. Thank you, Ann, for telling me where you're from. Donna Johnson said, quote, I finally found you on YouTube. Amber, thank you for your help today. Stuart McCall, love you, Brother Mike. I recognize the value in you. You deserve the best around you. Building your best environment. Stuart, I have the best around me. I have to. I function best with good people. I react to evil. I react to liars and deceivers. I react to arrogance. I react to it. Patricia Sanchez, quote, pride closes doors and stops endorsements. She received that. Oh. Apostle Sonia. Karen Sandrino, you're a sweetheart. Karen, quote, hello, my pastor. Glad to see you. Love you. UAE, United Arab Emirates, most beautiful airport on the earth. Robert Walden, wow. A breath of fresh air when I sit in teachings like these. Tracy. Gertrude. Gertrude said I look like a bridegroom today. Thank you. That's a compliment. Wayne Buchanan from Canada is here. Jude from Lagos, Nigeria is here. Kalani, Michelle, quote, these wisdom keys are so mind-blowing and amazing. Abigail Roberts, I'm learning so much. Thank you, Dr. Murdoch. Thank you all for these words. Isn't this book something? The Financial Rewards of Humility. Humility is swift apology when you've made a mistake. Turn some tense moments into laughter. A lady came up to me telling me what all I did wrong one day, and I was in a humorous mood. And my reply to her was, quote, this was my reply, now you see why God sent you to me, to get me back on the right path. I need you. Where have you been all my life? I need all this correction. Thank you for helping me. And she stopped and and then she went another direction. She said, well, I didn't mean that, just correction. I love your ministry. I just thought these. And the whole conversation changes when you introduce the seed of humor. Every conversation changes when you sow the seed of humor. Write that down. Every conversation changes when you sow the seed of humor. Do I always do that? Not at all. Not at all. Sometimes I want to slap some people around, etc. There's a little pill that I take when I get over anxiety. There's a little pill that kind of within 2 or 3 hours seems to affect me, and it helps me a little bit. And I tell people around me, I says, this is the pill that's kept me out of jail. There's a song, the pill that'll keep you out of jail. Sajon, S-A-J-O-N, Ford, is that right? S-A-J-O-N. My pastor, David E. Taylor, recommends all of your books and honors the blessing you are to God and us. I bought The Law of Recognition, and I love what blessing you're sharing right now in humility. You want to write that down? David E. Taylor. Let me honor him, bless him. Sajon, I get a S-A-J-O-N. If you will send me Pastor David's shipping address, I will honor him for recommending my books. I will do that. Here's the way to sow seeds into our ministry. If the Lord talks to you about, we'll show you here how to sow if the Lord speaks to you to help us in the ministry. Cash App, $, the Wisdom Center. Zelle, TWC Seed, that means the Wisdom Center. TWC Seed at thewisdomcenter.tv. Make a note of this. I would rather have seed gift more than TWC. I want to change some of these email addresses. If you could write that down, Miss Sonia. Zelle, PayPal.me, the Wisdom Center. and use the email live CBP, which means church live, church by phone, thewisdomcenter.tv. By the way, always follow the focus of your leader. One of the ways to generate favor is honor the chosen focus. Honor the chosen project. When your leader's going down a certain road and they're, follow that. Follow the focus of someone you love and let them share that. There's 2 phone numbers, maybe 3, 844-789-SEED. 844-789-7333. You can also phone text. I want to tell my niece, she's watching me today, what her mother Barbara said about submit your gifts to a pastor. That's powerful. And I really believe that. That's humility in action. I believe that with all my heart. Maybe that's not a bad description there about humility. That's not a bad one. Consistent obedience to God. I would say humility. Humility to me is recognizing your limitations and recognizing your needs. Humility is recognizing the greatness in others, recognizing the superiority of others. Some of you felt impressed to sow a seed into a seed of honor to my life. That's a huge thing to me. Cash App, Zelle, Dr. Mike at wisdomonline.com. PayPal.me/Dr. Mike Murdock 1. That one's important, by the way. I was told we couldn't get the Dr. Mike Murdock, so we just added the 1 there. Dr. Mike Murdock 1. Email Dr. Mike at wisdomonline.com. While you're screenshotting this, if you want to write this down, I want to pray over your seeds. Father, when we open our hand, you open your windows. A seed changes their future in our favor. When we sow a seed, you have guaranteed 100-fold return in Mark chapter 10. You said if we sow bountifully, we will reap a harvest that's bountiful. In 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6. You said in Luke chapter 6 that you would cause people to give to our lives. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over. Father, I've given my best today to your family. Father, I'm stirred because arrogance stops all endorsements. Arrogance paralyzes the river of favor and stops favor. The unwillingness to submit to others is a devastating weakness. Forgive us and help us. Amen. This is the book of the day, the financial rewards of humility. Someday, I'll be able to finish a book every day and be able to have it for you to download. My goal is a website of 1,000 books to download. That's my goal. It may be a year before I get there, but that's my goal. Other than my health, that's my goal. There's 3 phone numbers there, 817-759-BOOK. 844-789-SEED. And our office number, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 11 o'clock in the morning to 7 at night, Texas time, 817-759-0300. Uganda's here. Zambia's here. Zimbabwe, UAE, South Africa's here. Mexico, Kenya, Jamaica, Canada. China is here today. Nigeria is here today. Ghana is here today. I hope this message helps a little bit. Hope this blesses you. We're going to show you a little video here of some specials. If you become a monthly partner in my ministry at $58 a month, we've asked the Lord for $3,000, who will sow a seed of $58 a month. I'm going to send you my special Wisdom Bible, hardback. It has 160 pages of all my private notes in it. I'm needing some new monthly partners to help me in my TV outreach, my Jerusalem project. I'm on the radio every week in Israel, and your seeds help me and my staff keep preaching the gospel. I can't thank you enough. Hope you watch me. I hope to be back at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Hope to be back at 5 o'clock. My time here right now is 1:20. And I thank you so much for sowing seeds into my life. When you sow with expectation of a harvest God promised. Here's our video. See you at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Mike Murdock. Whatever God speaks to you to sow for the next 12 months. I'm going to send you my Wisdom Bible, hardback, with 160 pages of all my private teaching, my outlines. No book like it in the world. One of my people sold it for $2,000 on eBay. It's my gift, hardback, called the Wisdom Bible. I want to pray for 4 people to sow monthly into my ministry. And you call the number that's on the screen and tell my prayer circle. Brother Mike said he had a special gift for us if we became new monthly partners. Just say, I'm joining the Wisdom 500, and I'm going to be sowing a seed. Tell them whatever God speaks to you. One is $58 a month, because that's how many kinds of blessings there are in the Bible. One is 112. That's the financial covenant. The 112th Psalm, where God said, if you loved His word and obeyed His laws, wealth and riches would be in your house. There's 4 new monthly partners. You know who you are. Father, I ask you for 4 new monthly partners who would like to have a covenant with Wisdom 500. I ask you for 500 people throughout the world who would give themselves to the wisdom of God and honor your word. I have many gifts to send them, but the first gift I want them to have is the Wisdom Bible. We're 160 pages of my private notes. I'm going to be sowing seeds into them every month. I'm going to be giving them books, outlines, audios. I'm going to be honoring them as they honor you. I pray for the Wisdom 500 today, that a grace would come upon them. Whatever the seed is, to help me spread the gospel. Everything you do for me, do for them. I pray for the 14 harvest in Isaiah, the 58th chapter. Father, there's 14 harvests in the 58th chapter of Isaiah. I ask you in 58 days to fulfill that covenant. Jesus' name. I ask you for 12 people that within 7 days will sow $1,000 seed. That's what broke the back of poverty in my world. When I sowed my first $1,000 seed in Charlotte, North Carolina, at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, the first time I had ever sowed 1,000. I didn't even have kitchen chairs. I didn't have a table and chairs to sit in my house. But you spoke to me to sow $1,000 seed. Exactly what Abraham and Abimelech had in their covenant. 1,000 pieces of silver. There's 12 watching me right now. And I sanctify their $1,000 seed that will reach 1 million homes through television, through radio. Honor that. I ask you to honor that seed within 120 days. In 120 days, let that 1,000 be doubled back to them in a miraculous flow of financial favor. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm asking God to double your $1,000 seed in 120 days. Please journal it so you'll have a testimony. Now, Jesus promised during our lifetime in Mark 10 that there would be 100-fold return. I'm just asking God to double the 1,000 because that's a grace that just came in my spirit. In 120 days, the $1,000 seed will come back to you twice. And you'll remember when I spoke this. There are 7 books for women that I'm giving for every person who plants a $58 seed. One's called 31 Secrets of an Unforgettable Woman. I cried and cried in a restaurant as I was reading the book of Ruth. I called one of my baby sisters and told her, I said, you will not believe what I found out in the book of Ruth. It's book 57. Every person who plants a $58 seed to help me on television, my radio ministry in Israel every week, who helps me with my staff, every person who helps me with a $58 seed, I'm sending you 7 books. It's called Woman 7. Woman 7. The Proverbs 31 Woman. It's book 49. That's one of the 7 books. The Uncommon Mother. Book 132. The Uncommon Wife, book 210. Out of This World. I've spent thousands of hours writing. The book My Mother and Her Legacy. I had a fabulous mother. Master conversationalist. Genius. Really. I did not know until her passing, as some of you know that after they die, all of their greatness becomes apparent. But while somebody's in your house, what you keep seeing, you stop seeing. They sometimes have to die before you put real value. Book 315, My Mother and the Legacy. The Uncommon Woman, book 146. All 7 of these books I am sending to you, shipping to you for a $58 seed. That's here in America. I'm not able to do that with all these books all over the world. I wish I could, but I can't. But you can download from my website. Every one of these books you can download. Amen.
live in your presence. That comes, Holy Spirit, when I obey. Teach me, oh please do, how to please you. Show me how to pleasure you today. Know your presence that comes every time I obey. In your presence there is joy. In your presence there is peace. In your presence I find everything I need. Teach me how to please you. Show me what pleasures you today. Let me always stay in your presence. That comes every time I obey. Praise God. I love you. I love you, Holy Spirit. I'm teachable.